Hello everyone, welcome to programminginpython.com. I'm back with another video. Here in this video, I'm going to discuss on something related to GUI, graphical user interface. There are so many videos related to Python GUI using TKInter in this channel. So I am going to add one more video to it. Here in this video, I'm going to take a simple example of converting or finding an IP address of a given domain name. That is the example I'm going to take here. So basically user enters a domain name like www.google.com and it's going to return the IP address corresponding to it. So that is the application I'm going to design using this Python GUI. Actually the logic behind this is pretty simple. The main thing is here is the GUI. So let's get started. So first thing I'm going to do is to import TKInter. I'm going to import TKInter as TK, and also we need to do root equal to tk.tk, and also finally we need to run the main loop, root.main loop. So this is how we import TK, initialize it, and we need to use this main loop so it runs continuously. Next I'm going to have a label and an entry field. I'm going to call this as input label. I am going to use it from TK, so I will call tk.label, and this would be placed at root, and I'm going to give a text of enter any domain, and also we can give some background and foreground colors to it. So I'm going to give a foreground of white color. So I'm going to call this as FFF, and also I'm going to give a background of teal color, background equal to that hex code will be 009688. This is the teal color, and I am going to use your grid system. In the previous videos I said about different geometry managers in Python GUI, that is in TKInter. There are three types of systems, that is grid, pack and place. So you can refer that video for this grid system and all. So I'm going to place it in row 1. So now if we run this and see, you can see this, it is here, enter any domain. This is the label here. So we have placed only one label, so it's like that. So we will do something to it and we'll show it a little better. We also need to give a entry field to enter the domain. So I will call this as input entry. This would be called as tk.entry. This would also be placed at root, and its text variable, that is the value which user enters in this domain, I will call it as domain input. So we need to initialize this domain input, so we can call this as string var. I also need to place this grid position, input entry dot grid. This should be also in row 1, but its column should be also 1. Default column will be 0, and if I say this as column 1, it will be in the next column. So now if I run this and see, you can see this is the entry field and this is the domain. For now it's pretty ugly. See, if it's expanding until here, it's becoming so, it's looking pretty awkward. So we'll change this. So now let's continue. we need a button here that I will call as result button, that will be called tk.button, that would be placed in root, and its text is something like convert or find. We can give some anything here, and I will also apply some foreground and background colors to it. So I will copy this and I will just invert them. So foreground will be background and background will be foreground, just for our sake. So I need to place this here in the grid, so I will call this result button dot grid. I will place it here in the 4th row, so equal to 4, or we can also place it in 2nd row, and I will give a column span of 4. So that means it's the only button, so it needs to occupy some more space. So I'll call this, I'll give some more span here for the column, that is 4. If you again run this and see, you can see this is the convert button here. Column, it's placed in center because we have given it the column span as 4. So next, when this button is pressed, we need to take this input value and then do some operations on it, and then finally result its IP address. So we'll do that. So when this button is clicked, some action should be performed. We call that as command. So when this button is clicked, we'll call this command, and this command will be, we'll call some function like call convert, command equal to call convert. So we have to initialize this command. So for that we need to do call convert equal to, we need to use something called partials. This is used for giving some parameters to this function. Actually we need some parameters. As we said, we need to get the domain, entered domain, and we also need some label to display it. So we'll pass 2 parameters here, that is the input domain, that is this domain input. That would be, first we need, the first parameter would be this one, the function name, and the second parameter would be some label. I'll call this as result label. Actually I have not yet define it, I'll just define it in a moment. And this domain input. So we'll pass these 3 parameters here. This result label is the label to display the result, and this variable is the entered domain name. So first I will initialize this result label equal to tk dot label. This should be placed in root. Actually we can leave it like that. We can set the text in the function, and I will place the row equal to 2. I'll place it in the 2nd row. So this will be the 1st row, this will be the 2nd row, and this will be in the 3rd row. Actually I can place it in the row 4. I'll place it below the button, row 4, and I'll also give this column span of, actually I'll give this row 2 and give this as row 3 and same column span. So it says now we have to define this call convert function. Def call convert equal to, so this is the function, and it also takes 2 parameters, that is the result label, I call this as R label, and the domain input, I'll call this as input and something like that. So now for getting this input label, we'll use this input and dot get. So we'll get the domain name, so we'll get the entered value here. So in this entry field, what is entered is taken here, input and dot get. So what we'll do is we'll find the IP. For finding the IP, we use for sockets. So I'm going to import sockets. So import socket, and we also need to import partial here, that is from function tools. So I will call it from func tools import partial. So partial has been imported, and so now what we'll do is we'll find the IP using this sockets. There's a method in sockets called socket.get host by name, and this function get host by name takes a parameter that is the domain name. So we can get the domain name by input dot get. So this will get us the domain name, and this get host by name will convert it into IP. So now we'll set the label text rtable.config. So using this config we can set the text of it. Text equal to we can simply set like this IP. So now I'll just run this and see. Later that we can make some changes. You can see this here. I will enter www.fb.com and I will click convert. You can see 157.240.16.35, and we can call google.com and it's changed this to its IP, and I will call the IP address of this site programming in python.com, and you can see this is the IP of this site. So basically the functionality is completed, but as I said, I'm going to concentrate here on GUI. So I will make this this application look better. It's pretty awkward now. You can see this, it's expanding. It's like this. If you expand it, see how ugly it is. The basic functionality is correct, but this interface is not very good, so we'll fix that now. So first thing what I'll do is I will set a title to this application, to the window. If you see now, if you see now, you'll see this TK as the title, but I don't want this TK. I will give some custom title to it, that is domain to IP converter or something like that. So for that we need to do root.title. I will say this domain to IP converter, and I will also set a background for this config, and I will set a background equal to, and I will set the same teal color. This is the teal color. So background is set, and I will also make the window to not to resize. Actually now it is resizing, so I will say resizable. I will say width equal to false and height equal to false. So now I will run this again and see. You can see this is domain to IP converter, and now it's not able to resize it. With the resize button is also, the maximize and minimize button is also disabled. There is no button here to maximize or minimize. So this is the background we have applied. So now we'll make this to center, and so now we will make something so we can give some spaces between this this label, this button and the result. And by default when we run this application, this is coming somewhere at either at the top left or the top bottom. So as I minimize this screen, you cannot see, but if you run this application opens at top left or bottom right. So if I want to open it center, we will make it the application open at the center, and also align these items to the center and give some spaces to them so that it looks pretty clean. So let's do that. So I'll get the window height and window width. I'll call this as window height equal to, we can find the window width equal to root dot winfo underscore required width. So it gives us the window width. Similarly for window height. So now I'll find the positions of the window, that is where to place its position, like how much to the top and how much to the right and all. So now I'll find the position right and position down. Position right equal to, so what we can do is we'll find the screen width. You can call this winfo dot screen width instead of required width. I will call it as screen width. screen width by 2, and if I minus this from the window width by 2, so now I can get the position right. And I will also cast this as int. So similarly for position down, we'll calculate the height, window screen height by 2 minus window height by 2. So we have got the position right and position down. Now we can set the geometry of this. So I'll set geometry, and I need a width of 600 by 200, and plus we need to give this padding. These brackets are for this position right and down. I'll use dot format position right comma position down. So now if I run this and see, we can see that the window pops up at the center. Actually you cannot see because I have resized my screen, but even now you can see. Before I used to drag that, but now I don't need to drag. It appears here. You can see actually this is the center of my screen. Previously I used to drag and show it for you. Now I don't need to drag. This is it appears directly to the center of the screen. So next I will make these elements also to be aligned perfectly. That is, this should be in the center, this convert button will be in the center here, and this will be the IP here. So let's do it. So we can do all those by using this root.column configure and row configure and giving them some weights. I'll do root.row configure, and I'll give this 0, and I'll give some weight as 1, so it gives some spaces between these rows. And I'll also give column configure, and similarly I'll give and these two again, so it gives us the space between these two. Row configure 2 and column configure 2. So now I need to place this in the contents frame. So now I need to place this in a frame. So I'll call all this as contents equal to tk.frame, and I'll place all this root in the frame. And I can now say this contents dot grid row equal to 1 and column equal to 1. Now if I run and see, you can see when I enter, this should be an error here. You can see there is an error here. And if I enter valid domain like www.google.com, it's giving us IP. So what we'll do is we'll just modify something here. So instead of when we type something like this, we'll give some error message here to say that you need to enter valid domain like that. So here I will use some try catch block, that is try and except block, and I'm going to use except here. I'm going to call this as exception. If exception, I will print something like rlabel.config, and I'll set this text as please enter a valid domain in the form www.google.com. and here also I'll make some changes, like I'll say the IP of the given domain, the given domain is input n.get. Actually you need to give plus here, so we can append this plus and plus. So and finally we need to place the return here. So change this to please enter valid and in the form www.example.com, and this is this thing. Now I will run this and see. Now I will enter something like this. You can see please enter valid URL and in the form. So now I will enter something like www.google.com. You can see the IP address of domain google.com is 172.217.27.196, and you can see if nothing is entered while running the application. I will show you here. You can see this initially is something showing like this, so I will remove that here by giving this result label a background and foreground. So now if I run this again and see, our application will be perfect. You can see enter any domain www.programminginpython.com. So if I press convert, you can see the IP address of the domain programminginpython.com is 103.231.41.134. I will type google.com. It says 172.217 and I will type something like invalid domain. It says please enter a valid URL and in the form of www.example.com. So this is not a valid URL and this is not in the form of www.example.com. So these are the errors shown. So this is our final application. We have created a simple GUI application for entering a domain and converting all this. For entering a domain and convert and finding its IP address, we have given some labels here, entry field here, a button here, and a function. To this button, when it is clicked, it calculates all the logic. Here the logic is pretty simple. It will convert this domain to IP and then displays result here. That is the functionality. And also we made this item center. You have seen this before making all the changes. It's this enter in a domain, this entry field are all stacked to the top of the window. So I have made some changes so that it can look pretty clean here. You can also this, and you can also see this is not resizable now. We have removed this maximize and minimize button. We have given some padding spacing, and this window is also opening at the center when we run the application. By default those won't open at the center, so I have made some changes so that this application opens at the center. So that's it for the program. This is how we can convert any domain to IP. So that's it for this video. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel. That means a lot to me. Share it with your friends, give it a like, comment. Stay tuned for more videos from programminginpython.com. See you in the next video. Bye bye.
Thank you for watching. Now it's time to discover more. Simply click on the screen to subscribe to our channel, watch another video, and visit our webpage.